The inflation figures for the month of May were revealed today, and the headline figure remains exactly the same as last month at 8.7%. The Bank of England Governor and Chief Ostrich, Andrew Bailey, points to three key factors in his analysis of the situation: the COVID lockdowns and all the supply chain disruption that followed, the war in Ukraine and all its effects on supplies and commodities, and obviously energy, and unusually low unemployment, which perhaps counterintuitively can propel inflation by forcing companies to pay higher wages. But the United States has the same problems. We came out of lockdown at a similar time to them. They too suffer the effects of the war in Ukraine, and they have similar unemployment levels to us. And yet, US inflation sits at 4.05%, less than half of ours. The problem really lies with the fact that the Bank of England was much too slow to raise interest rates in the period after the 2008 financial crash. After that crash, Western nations took their rates nearly to zero. But in 2016, the Federal Reserve began slowly bringing their rates back up again to more sensible levels, to about 2.5% by 2019, before bringing them back down again for the pandemic. Meanwhile, in the UK, we kept rates below 1% from 2008 until May of last year. We did not follow the Federal Reserve's lead, and now we're suffering the consequences of keeping interest rates unrealistic low for too long. Not to mention the vast amounts of quantitative easing conducted latterly superfluously by the bank at the end of the pandemic. When the Bank of England first became independent, the wise men of the Monetary Policy Committee were selected for their eclecticism. They thought differently. They brought various schools of thought to the table. But now the bank and the Monetary Policy Committee is dominated by bureaucratic groupthink. They all think the same. They all follow the governor's lead. They're all driven by Treasury, bank, OBR, orthodoxy. What we need is more diversity in the bank. And I don't mean woke diversity. I mean diversity of thought that will challenge groupthink. But above all, what we need from the government to help with this are the supply-side reforms that may ease the problem, may help bring prices down. It's now time the ostriches of the Bank of England removed their heads from the sand, stopped flapping about, and began to realise how serious the problem is.